Here we go. I'm sitting at Aachen's Musikbunker along with Lou from Sick of It All and
In the bunker.
in the bunker, yeah. And we haven't met for like a decade.
Yeah.
Many things have happened, and Sick of It All still is out there.
Yeah.
And when I look at other bands, bands tend to split up, get together again, but Sick of It All has always been out there and has never vanished. uh, you have now like 26 years of music business.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be 25 next year.
25?
Yeah, next year.
I thought you started off in 1984.
Well, that's when we got together, but we didn't
Yeah.
really do Sick of It All till 1986, we say.
Okay.
So,
So it's actually like a quarter of a century.
Century, yeah.
Great, great, great
It's crazy.
achievement for a band from the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And you're still out there, and now you're even touring and touring and touring, even though you also have families
Yeah.
and things like that. How do you look back at the time? What is the main thing that made you accomplish this?
I don't know. It's as cheesy as it sounds. We've always loved, hardcore, and to a lot of people, especially I think from coming from New York, a lot of people are always just like, yeah, hardcore. It's a little subculture thing. It's not, it's not legitimate music like rock and roll or hip hop or heavy metal or whatever. And it always became our mission because we loved it. It was such a free form of music. It always became our mission to show everybody how good it is and how much fun it can be, and it's but and it's still an uphill struggle. We just, even as big and as far as we have taken hardcore, behind the scenes it's still treated as it's a little subculture. We just co-headlined full force with Killswitch Engage, 70,000 people going crazy and loving the band. But if you could go behind the scenes and see the pay scale, there are metal bands that went on in the afternoon who drew a third of the crowd that we drew, and they get paid 4 times as much. Why? Because they're a metal band.
Yeah.
And it's sad. But, it's not about the money. It's very insulting that we can outdraw some of these bands and they get paid more.
Yeah.
And our booking agent has confronted certain, festivals with like, why would you pay Sick of It All less than a band that doesn't draw half as them? And this is a direct quote from one of the festivals. I won't name the one, but they turned around and said to them, they're a hardcore band. They don't expect to get paid. It's not like we get free airline tickets, free gasoline, free guitars like the big bands do, It's very frustrating, but to keep going, it's we, just the love of the music, and like we put out a new record, and the reaction to it was amazing, and then we start getting letters and emails, and well, now it's emails. We get emails from all over the world saying, please come here, please come back to Indonesia. It was the greatest time, that we ever had. All this stuff, and so that's what we like. We like to be like the ambassadors of hardcore, where we open up to the different places, or get to go around the world and do that.
Yeah.
So
So
it keeps us going. Sorry.
no, no problem. I mean, we're here to talk about things that happened, things that that you're doing, and stuff like that. So you have all the right in the world to keep on talking if you want to. The thing I noticed is that the crowd that hardcore bands tend to play in front of has pretty much changed. I mean, we had like the more aggressive crowds, I guess, way back in the 90s, where shows were fucking brutal compared to what we have now. I mean,
Yeah, you could say that, yeah. And whether it's I think because maybe those kids have found something, the people who are attracted to just the violence of the music have found something else. Like in the late 90s, they went to nu metal, like for Limp Bizkit and stuff like that, because it was the aggression and power of like a hardcore band, but without the consciousness of being careful about your neighbor, And I don't know what now. Who knows what it's metalcore, whatever the fuck they follow, That's one aspect I don't like, is that how again hardcore was overlooked and people took bits and pieces of it. Now you have this metalcore And metalcore, I think music is great. There are some bands I love, but their attitude is more like a metal band's rock and roll attitude, where it's like their songs, instead of being about the struggles of youth or what's wrong with the world or the government or whatever, their songs are more about like I got drunk last night and fucked a stripper.
Yeah,
And it
hardcore.
appeals to a wider audience.
Right. Hardcore always had an approach toward the things happening surrounding oneself.
Yeah.
The consciousness about political things, but also things like, for example, racism or whatever.
Yeah.
Just looking back at songs like Just Look Around, which is a nice example for consciousness of the world. So.
And like I said, those kind of bands that have taken bits from hardcore, except they didn't take the idealism, and they ran with it. And again, it's just weird how society or mainstream people into music, they would rather hear a band that sounds like Sick of It All sing about getting drunk and fucking strippers than Sick of It All singing about our problems growing up or the political system in America. Which I can understand that, but if they ever came to see us, we don't preach live. We always write serious music, and hopefully people will listen to it and get something out of it. But live, we like everybody to forget about what's going on for that hour that we're on stage and just let it all out.
Yeah, hardcore always has been like an outlet to compensate the aggression with the system, with the life that each and every one is confronted with, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, but that's still your the thing that drives you, right? Mm-hmm. This outlet for yourself, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like friends of ours, like Walter Scheffel, who used to be in Gorilla Biscuits and Quicksand, now he does an acoustic thing. He was doing an interview, and they asked him about bands, and he was saying how he loves that us Sick of It All are still around and still going. And he said, I just don't know how they stay so angry all the time. And it's not that we're angry, it's he gets angry and frustrated too, but his outlet now is he writes acoustic songs and he tours acoustically. To us, we're still into this.
Yeah.
We're not slowing down yet.
No, even if I look back in the history, the discography of Sick of It All, the last albums were even more aggressive than more aggressive than other albums. Like for example, I think 2000, Yours Truly was a more smooth album compared to Death to Tyrants.
Oh, exactly. I love Yours Truly. That's one of my favorite ones of us because it was experimental without being very, very weird. The music is great. It's all rooted in hardcore, but it goes in different directions. The only thing I hated about it was the cover. It's the worst cover. I think it's the worst cover in hardcore history. I mean, we had a big argument about that because our manager came up with this idea saying, because he really got into how it was such a new style of hardcore, that he was all, we got to make a new cover and it's different. And he was friends with this underground artist in New York who was the toast of New York at the time. Really cool guy, Phil Frost, old hardcore guy. And Phil wanted to do something for us. So we were like, yeah, cool. And that's what he came up with. And it's like, it's a great painting, but I wanted something more plain, more simple, like, whatever. And we got in this big argument, and our manager turns and says to me, well, what do you want? Like a tattoo drawing of a skull with dice in his eyes? And I said, you know what? If we had that, the record would sell a shitload more than it did.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's a quite unique difference between those two albums I just mentioned. I mean, you're more aggressive again. You had like the tracks like Take the Night Off, and it was straight in the face of
Machete, all of that. You can thank George Bush for all that shit. That's the years of George Bush being president. Not that we weren't angry before, we were still mad, but George Bush was just like